And welcome back to the Sports Trigger, everyone. Today we're going to do a weekend recap. Travis, are you ready to get this week started?
Let's get it started.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Sports Trigger. Travis, let's start in with our weekend recap early on. First, we have Florida and some suspensions in the college football world. There are 7 players officially suspended right now for that first game against Michigan. How do you think that's going to impact the game, or do you think it is at all?
I definitely think that it's going to impact the game, but from my personal opinion, I had Michigan winning the game anyways. But I definitely think that it may make them less competitive, because of the players that are being suspended, one of the most notable being their main returning wide receiver. Granted, they, didn't have many receiving yards due to lack of quarterback, but still, I think it'll have an impact, but regardless, I think Michigan was going to win, anyways.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to have that big of an impact, really. There's still some time here before the first game. The biggest place I think it might have an impact is, as you said, he was the top receiver, but some of that chemistry that he might have been able to build with whoever is going to be the starting quarterback for the Gators, that's going to be lost. That's what you're losing. And, especially if you're a new quarterback, if it was Kaiser who came in and maybe he liked Callaway and he was always looking Callaway's way, now it's kind of different. So I think that's the main way it'll impact it. But outside of that, it's just a long string of, bad timing for Florida when they're trying to get off to a good start, albeit against my favorite team. It's still, I always want to see the other team at full strength, so it's really unfortunate.
And yeah, the funny thing is I was reading something the other day to where Florida's won, I believe it's something ridiculous, like 25 consecutive season openers. And, obviously I wouldn't credit them to playing the toughest of opponents during that stretch. It's just funny that when they actually play a good tough opponent like Michigan, they have suspensions.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But like I said, I don't think it's going to have that big of an impact on the game. But we'll see. So looking forward, let's look at just one word to describe Stanton's home runs from the Marlins.
Remarkable. Absolutely remarkable.
Yeah, and towering. That's what I'm going to say. Towering because
I like that one.
That's what his home runs appear to be like, even though he plays for a stadium that currently is not under good management. But actually, wait a second. Ding, 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 breaking news. Derek Jeter and a group are the new owners. So how do you feel about that? I know you're a Yankees fan, so how do you feel about Derek Jeter taking over the Marlins?
Yeah, I think it's great. Even if you take Derek Jeter out of the equation, I think it's great for the Marlins in general, just because obviously they've really not had too much direction recently. They've been around 500. Obviously they have the good talent. We mentioned Stanton. So I think it's great, especially with Derek Jeter involved, maybe with that baseball savvy mind. He'll know the ins and outs of the clubhouse and, be able to help provide better direction than what they've been in years past.
Yeah, I think they'll finally have some money behind them and a baseball mind that's very competitive and actually wants to succeed in Miami. I think some of the past owners just didn't really care if they were that successful. I mean, you had a few years where they won the World Series based on fire sale teams, but I just feel like they didn't really care if they're successful for the long haul. And now with Derek Jeter's group, I think you're going to actually have a good combination that leads to long-term success. So I'm pretty excited to see how that goes, and excited for Miami in general. Just hopefully that they'll have a decent baseball squad moving forward, because they do have Stanton to build off of. So they do, unless they decide to trade him, they do have a building block, I guess. And with that, just sticking on the baseball note before we trudge away from that area, another comment that I want to bring up that I've been reading some articles, especially over the weekend, where some people started to mention Chris Sale for MVPs, the pitcher for Boston. And I just want to get your thoughts on that. I have my own thoughts on this. I am a huge Red Sox fan, but I kind of want to hear what you say first before I dive in.
So that's definitely interesting, and I know before the season even, I kind of heard rumblings of the possibility of Chris Sale competing for the AL MVP. And, you know, like, as the season's gone along, obviously I'm a New York Yankee fan. I can't stand the Red Sox, but I have to give credit where credit's due. And I mean, even when he's with the White Sox, he was really great. And just the numbers and consistency that he puts up, he's so dominant. He's, I would argue, probably easily top 3, pitcher so far this year. If not, you could argue the most dominant pitcher if he had some more offense behind him. But I wouldn't be against it, but I think it's going to be very hard to do just because it seems like a lot of voters are all about offensive production and, you know, the other side of the ball, if you will, or I guess you'd say on the mound, or off the mound, I should say, and behind the plate. So it'll be interesting. I think AL, there isn't any clear-cut offensive player that could really say, oh, he's better than Chris Sale and deserves it more. Obviously, there's Aaron Judge, but you know, I could argue that Chris Sale is right up there with Judge. If not, he's been more impressive.
Yeah, well, I think Houston's over in the AL, right? I always get confused if Houston's over in the AL.
That's right.
You have Altuve, who's been tearing it up over there, and a few other players. Actually, there's some Boston offensive players that have been playing well, like Mookie Betts, and so I think there's the offensive players to challenge it. The thing that I see is when Verlander won it, his stats were unbelievable too, and even then, like, you know, there was some wondering of, oh, is a pitcher going to win it? I mean, Verlander went 24-5 with a 2.4 ERA. I mean, that's absolutely incredible. Sale's 14-4 right now with the 2.51 ERA. And like you said, he has lost a game where it's 1-0, and then I think he lost one that was like 2-1 or something like that. So if those go in his direction and he starts filling out the rest of the year, I think that would put him closer. But I think to even have consideration, again, for a pitcher, you almost have to at least match Verlander's win total, if not more. So I think that's the problem that he's going to be sitting in. So I really don't see it as clear-cut right now. But there's still plenty of season left, and he still has plenty of pitch starts left. So that number could climb. So if it starts getting in the 20s, then, you know, you got to start seriously talking about it.
Right, easily. And one thing I would also add to that is how long a pitcher goes into the game. So obviously, you know, it's great if you have a good ERA and you just go 6, 7 innings. But if you can go the distance and get a complete game, or, you know, consistently go 7 or 8 innings, then I think that should factor in as well.
Yeah, I mean, you have one start, so it's tough. Like, unless you get up into those 20-something wins, you haven't had the ability to impact the game like all the other players do if they're an everyday starter. The last one that we want to kind of get into here is the Bryce Harper injury there. A lot of baseball updates. We're obviously in baseball season now outside of NFL preseason. But what do you think about Bryce Harper and his agent's comments about the bags and needing to wipe them down more because the injury essentially was caused by the bag, or the base, in this case?
Yeah, you know, I'm not completely sold on that. I definitely understand, and obviously, his agent's the person who's coming out saying this because, you know, he wants to protect, you know, his recently injured, prospect. But I guess it makes sense, but I don't think it's a top concern because how many injuries have we seen because of the base, or, because of the bases not being wiped off?
Well, yeah, just wiped off. I don't think that's a high number, but if you're going back, I mean, it's an elevated bag. I don't know. It's been around forever. Why change the bases? You know, it's baseball. So with that being said, thanks a lot for joining us on our weekend recap. We hope you all have a great day, and until next time.